his website on there and go to the Deming, which is on all those, and it's a 2-hour documentary. But he has every week he does another update on the weather that's going on. So it's very informational to be able to just watch weekly to see the changes and what's happening. But definitely get some of that literature and go visit his site. Dane and I have become good friends through this whole thing, and he's here in the fight. He doesn't make any money whatsoever. He spends all of his own money. He won't take a donation from me for anything. So highest respect for this man. So there's 34 states right now, possibly 35, that have legislation on this stratospheric aerosol injection over their state. Of that, 3 have already passed it: Florida, Louisiana, and Tennessee. Tennessee being the first. Florida's got some good legislation that they got passed, and they're even making it stronger. I've been working with the people that wrote the bills in Florida, legislators and some lawyers, and they're helping me get mine stronger, because anything above 500 feet, you don't have jurisdiction on it as a state. So you're sitting here, we're sitting here beating a head against the wall. However, if you do a private citizen authorization, it would bypass AG, and it would give citizens the right to be able to go after employees in the airport that allow these planes to land or depart, refuel, refill, and you can also go after the pilots too. The problem is it's trying to be able to prove that that aircraft did that. And they've even got federal laws now that are taking call signs off of the tail fins. So some of them are marked on. You can go to it's an app on the phone. Anybody know the name of it? It's Flight Track. That's it. Flight Track 24. Thank you. They've come out with a new model in 25. Did you? So hopefully we can use that as our law to track these planes to where they land and go from there. Another problem with that is they're going to be going to different airports out of different states. So as state legislators, we're dealing with a unbelievable legal bill here to write to be able to cover all of our bases with this. Plus with 30,000 patents, over 30,000 patents on stratospheric aerosol injection in the U.S. government patent office, they've got their bases covered that we're going to go through here. This was started, it was patented in 1946. They started doing this spraying in 1947. So we started flying in 1905 with circular patterns. So 80 years they've been spraying, and of 125 that we've been flying. They did a little bit in World War II, but they did it heavy, starting in 47, but really 50. Now, it is to a extreme level, as I'm sure everybody's noticing it. Everybody's coming, asking questions about it, and I can't disagree anymore. It's an attack on we the people. As far as the stratospheric aerosol injection, there are toxic metals in this of aluminum, barium, strontium, some cadmium, mercury, lead, and pathogens and parasites are even found in this. Dane Wigington did, in Deming you'll see it, he had a tube in front of a Learjet, and I said, well, let's do it again and see what's in there. And he said, that was a one-time show, I'll never be able to do it again. They will not allow him to do that. He had it tested by 2 or 3 different labs, and they analyzed these samples that they were able to get through this glass filter through the tube in the plane. So they flew through these trails in the stratosphere, did an analysis on it, and so everything in here that everything that Dane Wigington says is 100% backed up with data. So he is my only source that I go to, and I have a lot of them reaching out to me. The aluminum they're using mainly to, well, there's several different things for it, but to dim the sun. So when they're spraying this, they're trying to reflect the sun back into the atmosphere. They say for global cooling. It's actually warming the earth, but it's also destroying our ozone layer. They say we got 30% depleted, we're at 70% depleted. So that and the amount of sunlight that we all need. I've got friends that work outside. A lot of my family here works outside. And everybody, not everybody, but a lot of them are getting vitamin D3 deficiency. They work outside all day. They ask the doctor, how do I get vitamin D3 deficiency? And actually one doctor told them, says probably because of the chemtrails. So I was intrigued to hear that.
Who is he?
Of these particles that are in the air, we're breathing about up to 20 million micro nanoparticles per breath. Hey, Kerwin, will you go ahead and start? You can come on through a little bit. This one was taken in Beaufort, South Carolina at a Marine, and I asked the lady over the dock what she thought that was. She said, I think it's jet fumes. So they've been pushing contrails for a long time, and then they started saying it was jet fumes. Any way they can debunk it, that's what they're going to do. A contrail does not start and then cut off and then start back up and cut off and start back up. That's the end of the discussion right there. A contrail doesn't last 18 to 24 hours and then merge together and create a solid ceiling over the land. This is all weather manipulation and health problems. So there you go. That's the sprayers on the back. This was taken off the dimming. All right, you can go to the next slide. Next one. These are the fuselages in the plane, and they try to say that these are coming out of commercial airline, and that they're running it through the fuel. They're not running 60 million tons to 100 million tons of all of this material. Is about 40 to 60 million tons on the material itself, but then they mix coal with it and another chemical that is about 40 million tons more. So it's up to 100 million tons a year. You're not putting that out through a jet engine. That I've spoken to 4 or 5 different Navy, Air Force mechanics that work on engines, and these engines are designed to run clean and without anything coming out the back of them. So there's no way you can sell that on that commercial airlines doing it with that much material going out per year and running through a jet engine. So they set these fuselages up like this. Next one. This was in Spartanburg, South Carolina. You can see the waves of it. That's the frequencies that they send through 5G with these particles. And go to the next slide. All right. And see how it makes a complete solid ceiling. Natural cloud is 3-dimensional. We used to see them, some of us older folks, when we were kids, you make animals out of them. It's a 3-dimensional cloud. Bright blue skies behind it. I hadn't seen a bright blue sky in several years, if not more. Go ahead. Next. All right. This pilot evidently was flying to Charlotte and on his phone talking and turned and went to Nashville. Missed his route, I guess. Clear evidence that they're spraying. Jets don't fly with a 90-degree to any destination you're going. Next. This is Megan Edwards. She could possibly Rex be a whistleblower for us. She worked for the Air Force, and she noticed all these materials coming in that were not logged, and she asked her commanding officer about it. The commanding officer immediately moved her to a whole different post, where she started digging again, found the same thing going on. Everything's so compartmentalized. So when you, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. They have one person that does one specific job, another person that does another specific job. I was in the military, I know. Nobody really, worries about what the other one's doing. They just do what they're commanded to do. So she is she's had some death threats on her and her family. So she's kind of gotten real quiet about this, but I think she'd still be one to back us up. Of this material that we're breathing, 1/2 of 100% of the autopsies, they're finding these microplastic nanoparticles. And we know what, that doesn't even include the aluminum, but we know what that's doing. That is why our dementia rate is so high, and why Parkinson's and Alzheimer's is on the rise. It's because of all these particles that we're breathing. When you breathe up to 20 million micro nanoparticles per breath, it goes straight into your bloodstream, your brain, your spinal cord, your lungs, go on down, and it affects a plethora of different organs in our body, and with bloodstream as well, which these will show later. All right, so Lyndon B. Johnson in 1962, I'm going to read you a quote. From space, the masters of infinity would have the power to control the earth's weather, to cause drought and flood, to change tides and raise the sea levels, to divert the Gulf Stream and change temperature climates to frigid. Whoever controls the weather controls the world. That was in 1962. They've been after this a long time. We used this in Vietnam. That's Agent Orange. They didn't care if they put it on our soldiers and their soldiers, and that's what they did. They put it on all the soldiers that were there. They also used weather manipulation during this, trying to do it at our advantage, but I don't know if it was probably still in the testing stages then. We know we're in a war right now. It's been an informational war, but as we all see, we're starting to see the visual effects of all these different things going on, from Charlie Kirk's assassination to illegal immigrants all over. We just went to Corpus Christi and spent the night on our way to South Texas, and it looked like a ghost town. And when I say ghost town, I mean 15 to 20 people, I think, is the most that we saw in the whole town. When we're riding through, all the houses look vacant. There's no vehicles there. There's nobody there. And so me and my buddy are going, man, this place looks like a ghost town. Well, we went to eat. We got our hotel, we went to eat. And again, nobody there, nobody walking, nobody on the streets. We go to South Texas, and Border Patrol comes out to the ranch that we're hunting on, and they were talking about how they've got 0 people coming across the border right now. So there's another positive we can all suck in. They did last week just catch a guy with $12 million worth of liquid fentanyl built in a special tank above his gas tank. Wow. That was the second time he got caught, so they said he knows he's dead, he knows his family's dead. So I asked the Border Patrol, I said, we just went through Corpus Christi, that place looks like a ghost town. He kind of looked at me and he grinned and he said, yeah, Corpus Christi is a real nice place to live now. And, you take that ICE has been busy working behind the cover, and that's what he said. He said, people are leaving our Border Patrol because ICE is paying so much. I think like a $50,000 signing bonus, and then they pay very well with good benefits. So anyway, they're losing, I'm getting off track, but I thought that was very interesting and a little inspiring, to be honest with you. Go on down. On down to the video, Kerwin. Go back one picture, two pictures. All right, this is down in Port Royal Sound, and they are spraying so heavy over the ocean. If you don't know, and I didn't know, I was like, why are they spraying the ocean if they're trying to affect all of us? We all see, or you've heard of coral life, marine life, fish. It's on a huge decline right now. They are killing, so far they've killed 90% of our plankton in the ocean. 50% of our oxygen comes from the plankton in the ocean. I'll tell you the other 50%. Go ahead, Kirby. All right, real quick, I was helping someone with whistleblower that had told me about child trafficking. So I pulled up on Google Earth to see, trying to find the island that I was looking for so she could show me. And lo and behold, look what I found on the satellite. You go ahead, Kirby. So if you go out at night with a headlamp, I don't care, any night you want to, you can look up in the sky with a headlamp and you can see these particles. Play it again. This is what I'm talking about. I mean, it looks like it's snowing. Now, this was an exaggerated video. However, you don't go out one night and not see this. Every night you go out with a headlamp, you will see that. That is what I was talking about when you're breathing. It's happening during the day too, when you breathe all those micro nanoparticles in your body. All right, that's good. You got it next one. All right, so this is title, in the Code of Laws, Title 50, War, National Defense, Chapter 32, Chemical and Biological Warfare Program. I don't know if y'all are able to read that or not. I'll read it to you real quick, just one part. So it says restrictions on use of human subjects for testing of chemical and biological weapons, agents, prohibited activities. The Secretary of Defense may not conduct directly by any contract any test or experiment involving the use of a chemical agent or biological agent on a civilian population or any other testing of a chemical agent, if biological agent, on human subjects. That's A. B says exceptions. Any peaceful purpose that is related to a medical, therapeutical, pharmaceutical, agricultural, industrial, or research activity. Any purpose that is directly related to protection against toxic chemicals or biological weapons and agents. Any law enforcement purpose, including any purpose related to riot control. Involving the use of human subjects for the testing of chemical agents or biological agent. And then you have a 30-day period in there you can protest this. In the big beautiful bill they had where you could not even protest it, and this was to be in effect for 10 years. Senator Blackburn got it taken out, thank goodness. I'm just hoping that was an oversight of a 1,000-page bill, that they didn't catch this, but it sure raises the alarm. All right, next. This is Helene. We went there, me and several of my buddies, and helped people 8 or 9 different times. The numbers that they say there are still in the 200 to 300s. This is 8 or 9 trips going there, talking with people that we got close to that I still talk to. Everybody there is saying that there's 20 to 40,000 people dead. So these attacks are coming with Helene. They're trying to tell us and make us think that a hurricane went from the Florida coastline 600 miles into 4,000 to 6,000 foot elevation mountains that is normally 10 to 20 degrees cooler, and it intensified. You know, we've got to be smarter than this and know that something's going on. We had the trees that came down. I've done clearing and grubbing my whole life. Rex, you've done it your whole life. When I was a kid, you could drive a Volkswagen Bug in the root hole system of a 200 to 250-year-old oak tree. These root systems, and we took, I don't know how many up in Belton, 35 on my farm. I say we were close to 150 trees. Every single one of them that I saw going in North Carolina, every one that I took up, had a 1.5 to 2 foot max root system that wasn't 2 to 5 feet wider than the trunk of the tree. These trees should have breather root systems that go all the way out to the drip line of the tree. And the main root, I mean, if it blows over the wind, you're not going to have those breather roots come up, but the main part of the root, all the tap roots were rotten. And that's because of what they're doing to the stomata, which is a respiration system of a tree plants. Trees take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. Go down one more picture. Yeah. God kind of made us the same. Opposite of the tree. We breathe in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. It just kind of, I guess he figured it worked well that way. But they're gumming these trees up with all these chemicals that they're putting on us. And these trees are the other 50% of our oxygen. So, you know, when these trees die off, then we're really going to be struggling. And that's not even getting into insects and bees. The bee population is down. It was down 90% several years ago. Now it's down from that number 70 to 80%. We lose our bees, and we know what happens. I mean, there's famine, everything else follows. The insects are the same way. It's a food chain supply. So I think he said last night, 80%, maybe 90%. 80 to 90%, that's what he said last night, of insect population is gone. Next, this is Texas flooding. What they did with this system is let it sit in there by crowding it with NexRad, which is on these 5G towers. They kind of look like it's a Doppler system. So the Doppler system that you see up on 85, it really tells us our weather. That's Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, who actually do all the design of this and actually fly the planes as well. They are doing all of the weather reports, and they send those weather reports to local radio stations, local TV stations, NOAA, Weather Channel. All of it comes from Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. Yeah. They're funneling money. They already found it through USAID, NOAA, and NASA, as well as DARPA. So they're funneling money through, and I'm sure there's more, but they're funneling money through these different things. And Trump is trying to shut the climate control or climate change funding down, which would be a big part of this equation. With the Texas flooding, there were 38 other areas that got flooded throughout the nation. If you look at it in that aspect of it, we literally got attacked by our own government at 38 different places. You could have bombed it and not made it any more destruction than what they did. They do weather manipulation, nobody even knows who to blame. They think our good Lord did it. Something that we just need to be aware of, and we the people, are going to have to speak up on this. It's not going to be Trump, it's not going to be RFK Jr., it's not going to be me, it's not going to be Rex Rice, any of us. It's going to have to be a coordinated, we the people effort to save this planet and ourselves. They have several, you can go down, I think. Next one. Next one. Go back one. That's the one I'm talking about when they stop, start. You can see where they stop, and then they'll start back up. Same with the other line, and some horizontal lines. That's where you say it's not a contrail. All right, go ahead. Go back one picture. That is a straight line across the sky. If it was darker, you could see it better. It is a cloud cover on the lower part and somewhat clear skies without the trails above it. This is where frequency comes back in. So, from the 5G towers and X-ray. All right, I've got, go down a little more. This was during the winter time. They do a chemical ice nucleation. The coldest area is the lower 48s, except one little spot over there. Everything in Alaska and Antarctica was 60 to 70 degrees above normal temperature. That was during our January of 2025. Next one. All right, I got 2 emails after I turned my first bill in that actually had teeth in it. My second bill was weak. I was just trying to get it through ag and get it out of judiciary, which it went to judiciary too. But this guy reached out to me and he is admitting that stratospheric aerosol injection is bad on our health and bad on the climate. But he wants to continue with cloud seeding. Cloud seeding and stratospheric aerosol injection are 2 completely different things. They're using sulfur iodide and silver iodide and other different materials. But it's done at a lower altitude right above the clouds. They're basically cloud seeding. They're not making rain, they're pulling moisture from one area and it causes torrential downpours in another area. Where they're pulling that moisture from, of course, causes a drought, which a big portion of the country is seeing a drought right now. But I just thought it was interesting that Rainmaker, he testified at the Florida hearing in their state house, and I think the owner's Augustus, I know y'all saw it back during the summer. So it's an admittance. All right, next. Go. People say, what can we do to get in this fight and to help? I did a campaign myself. I put 9 billboards around the state. I put 2 at every air base, one on 85, and did a video that Dane helped me get out. I think it had 1 million views on it. And we're trying to get more money to do more billboards. We also sent text out to every employee in every base, military base in South Carolina, whether they were employees now or whether they retired. Trying to get whistleblowers, and we actually had 2 come up, but they haven't fully committed yet. So if you want to take a picture of that, you can donate that. You can go to Give, Send, Go, and go to the Stop Geoengineering Billboard Fund, South Carolina, and donate to it. And then don't forget about viewinggeoengineeringwatch.org. The dimming is a good one to start. All right, Kerwin. This was a video I did. I'm not going to play it. Let's don't play it. It's calling the Air Force, NOAA, EPA, all that out. So do some research. You can set. I put it up there to say that you can do a video of this yourself. Send it out. We've got social media everywhere. So let's take advantage of it. Let's wake people up. Call your representative. If nobody in District 7 need to call me, but you're welcome to. And but every senator, every representative in the State House, you don't have to be in their district, reach out to them and demand that we make this a priority. All right, next one. All right. Guess I could have already been there, huh?
Dane here.
Hey, Dane. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's an honor. Appreciate everybody caring enough to take a look at the issue.
So I haven't really introduced you yet. Dane has done over 20 years worth of research on this, all at his own expense, and just done a unbelievable job. Smartest man you'll ever speak to in your entire life. But thank you again for joining us, Dane. Go ahead.
Well, I thank you for your confidence, Lee, and I would encourage anybody there that the most skeptical question you have, the better. And this is what, keeps so many people from looking into this issue. They're convinced that ultimately those who print the money wouldn't do this to themselves, that our government wouldn't be involved in anything this nefarious. And so I encourage the harder the questions, the better. And I cannot stress enough, based on all available data, the greatest and most immediate threat we collectively face is coming from our skies, short of nuclear cataclysm. And even then, because climate engineering is weakening and diminishing Earth's protective layers, it makes us more vulnerable to a coronal mass ejection like a CME, solar flare, which can shut down grid power around the globe, which would then mean nuclear power plants can't cool themselves. We have Fukushima times 100 or 200, so that would be a cascading collapse scenario still connected to climate engineering. Stated purpose for these operations, for those that don't know, is solar radiation management, stratospheric aerosol injection, and cloud albedo enhancement to block some of the sun's incoming thermal radiation to slow down the warming of the planet. That is the stated purpose. We know these operations are having exactly the opposite overall effect. Short-term topical cool downs at the cost of an even worse warming. And we know they're being used as a covert weapon of war. It's the crown jewel weapon of the controllers, because they are, and have been for decades, bringing populations and countries to their knees without those populations even knowing they're under assault. Cut off the rain, destabilize food supplies, destabilize populations. We have countries like Iran, for example, the leaders of Iran and their top scientists stating on the record that NATO's been cutting off their precipitation for 40 years consistently. And so again, it's even with geopolitical issues, it's imperative to understand how pervasive this issue is. And it's contaminating every single breath we take. And we don't believe just with the climate engineering fallout. We know from the Washington Post as of 1977, that far back, historical record, U.S. military conducted no less than 239 open-air biological tests on innocent, unknowing U.S. civilians. How many have they done since? Our soldiers, our military personnel are being told they're engaged in something benevolent, something good, something necessary. Couldn't be further from the truth. Same thing pilots were told in Vietnam while they were spraying Agent Orange on their comrades on the ground. So again, I would like to get right into Q&A so I know what people want to have answers to, but in an overall context, climate engineering is being used as a weapon. It's destroying the planet's protective layers. It's completely disrupting and derailing the hydrological cycle. It's destroying the ozone layers, not the hairspray cans that are the primary source of damage, as we were told decades past. Climate engineering is the, by far, core causal factor for ozone layer diminishment. We're near functional collapse of the ozone layer for those that have felt how hot the sun feels on their skin, on surfaces. We lose that, and our days are numbered. So, again, the gravity that's happening in our skies cannot be overstated. If we don't deal with that, if we don't stop it, all other causes and concerns will very soon be moot points.
Right, thank you, Dane.
I mean, if anybody has questions, I mean, I can go deeper. Of course, I would recommend the Dane documentary. That's our standard on this issue. The most complete A to Z you can find in this. We posted for free the day it was done on the homepage of geodreamwatch.org. 26 million views in counting. But that's the best for an overall context. But for individual questions, if anybody's got any, the harder the better. Again, be glad to fill in the blank.
Who is actually funding this? And I mean, I've been following this for a long time. The funding of it and who is in ultimate control. Let's get real.
For those on the monetary system, it's important to understand how it works. And that's why the dollar is the global reserve currency, because those who control the manufacturing of dollars can print as much as they want for whatever they want. So any superficial facade storefront on where funding may or may not be coming from is really irrelevant. It's a red herring. Again, we have to look at the fact we're missing something in the range, depending on the estimate you look at, $30 trillion from the Pentagon is missing in the last 2+ decades. Where did that even come from to start with? So again, we can pretend that certain agencies with certain funding have anything to do with this. Ultimately, they don't. This is considered, for those in power, again, their crown jewel weapon. And they can level the playing field anytime they want. That's important to remember as well. We can hide from various medical treatments, quote, safe and effective, that are anything but forced vaccinations. We can hide from that. We can't hide from what they're doing in the skies, and those in power know it. And we have in the rain testing, along with aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese, surfactants, we also have polymer fibers and graphene. That's from a total of about 500 lab tests with the University of Minnesota. But the last 100, we looked for graphene specifically and found it in every test. Polymer fibers and graphene are used militarily as a biological carrier platform to carry a biological from the clouds to the ground to affect the population below. What's that doing in our rain? Should that not alarm the hell out of us? So again, ultimately, it's on the funding again. Those who control the central bankers, and that's not any elected official, because those who control the central bankers, aka the printing of the money, control all of it. Media, elected officials, militaries, and climate engineering. And that's imperative to remember. That's why Western powers have tried so hard to make sure the dollar remains the global reserve currency. But even with other countries, China, Russia, for example, they are definitely colluding and cooperating on these programs as well, no question. And when we get to the core of the why part, again, it's a weapon of power to control over populations, but the fact of the matter is the planet's life support systems are imploding. Climate engineering has a lot to do with that. Those in power know that they can't maintain this paradigm much longer, including governments in other nations. They're definitely colluding and cooperating. We have U.S. Senate documents to prove that. Going back to 1978, 800-page U.S. Senate document. Anybody can look up and read. We've highlighted the important places already, specifically calling for intergovernmental cooperation between otherwise adversarial nations. They cooperate around COVID as well. So again, there are very nefarious wheels turning, and the notion that when a new administration comes in, all of them puppets, I don't care what their political stripe is, and they claim, oh, we defunded this, we cut the funding for that. For programs like what's happening in our skies means zero, nothing. And when people indicate or they implicate Bill Gates and others, these programs were ongoing before Bill Gates was even born. So again, there are a lot of various distractions, but what's happening in our skies is a climate engineering Manhattan project. They've been at it for a very long time. They're not going to stop unless we push this to the full light of day. Our military brothers and sisters understand what they're being used for against us.
Thank you. Hang on.
Let's see, who's flying these planes? What planes are they using, and where do they fly from?
They're flying from locations all over the globe, military and civilian, and we know that civilian commercial carriers are being used because we have up-close photographs of the retrofit nozzles mounted on wing pylons aimed into the exhaust jet stream to make this look like, quote, condensation, which it is not. And by the way, on that question, the whole condensation trail narrative is perhaps one of the greatest deceptions ever perpetrated on populations. We have up-close film footage of these aircraft, nozzles visible, turning dispersions on and off. We know it is not condensation. We have to believe what we see with our own eyes. And on top of that, We know the high bypass turbofan jet engine that's on all military tankers, all commercial carriers. It's a jet-powered fan. 90% of the air that moves through that engine is not combusted. By design, it's nearly incapable of producing any condensation trail except under rare and extreme circumstances. So, again, these are not condensation trails. They're spray particulate dispersions. In the case of commercial aircraft, commercial carriers, we are not implicating commercial personnel. We are communicating with some commercial pilots who know this is going on. And they're leaving their printed materials in lunchrooms and other places covertly so that they can try to sound the alarm without losing their jobs. But their aircraft are damn sure being used. And on the military tankers, KC-10s, KC-135, C-17s, we have ample film footage of these aircraft, dispersions visible, turning on and off. And on the locations they're taking on and off, I mean, we know certain locations from contacts we have in the area, March and San Bernardino. We know there's... But this is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this is a global operation. There are likely well into the thousands of aircraft being used every single day. And there has to be, because we quantified, the geoengineers stated a goal, the world's most recognized geoengineers, their goal of putting tens of millions of tons of toxic nanoparticles into the skies annually. With our tests with the University of Minnesota, 500 lab tests, and extrapolating the amount of material in that contaminated precipitation, projecting that globally, it appears something in the range of 40 to 60 million tons. 40 to 60 million tons is being dispersed annually. It takes an inconceivable amount of aircraft to do that. They're flying from everywhere, different payloads, of course, a commercial carrier. And all of you might remember when luggage suddenly became a big deal, just after 2000. They were worried about weight in the aircraft. It was never a big deal before. Suddenly it was. They carry a much smaller payload, of course, very small compared to a military tanker, but their aircraft are being used. And again, we have film footage of commercial aircraft, commercial markings dispersed. We also know the DoD has leased an extensive amount of commercial aircraft with commercial markings. Why would they lease commercial aircraft? For what possible purpose? So again, we can speculate about certain aspects of these operations, but the fact that they're going on is irrefutable. The fact that they're ubiquitously contaminating the entire planet, every breath we take, irrefutable. The fact that they're completely disrupting and derailing the planet's primary life support systems, again, irrefutable. And here's an important aspect of these programs and why it's not just to control populations. And for those who haven't seen it, by the way, this is important. The first 30 seconds of our weekly update broadcast on the homepage of geoengineeringwatch.org, and this goes out on radio stations across the country. We've done this for a very long time. It's all news, no politics, no commercials, but the first 30 seconds is film footage of former U.S. President Lyndon Johnson on film, on the record, all the way back in 1962, 63 years ago, ranting like a lunatic, stating, we had the power to control the world's cloud layer then, and quote, he who controls the weather controls the world. So in addition to being able to control rain, thus food supplies, thus populations, they also control perception. I'm sure everybody there probably remembers the highly sensationalized blizzards in New Orleans last winter, January 21st. Blizzard, never before recorded in human history in New Orleans, in Florida, Gulf Coast, and everybody jumps up and down and says, well, look, there can't be anything wrong with the planet. There's a snowstorm on the Gulf Coast. What didn't they tell us? On the same day, in the polar regions, Alaska, Greenland, Iceland, Siberia, it was raining. It was raining in January and above freezing. That's what they don't tell us. So it controls perception, people's understanding of how damaged the planet is or isn't. And the eastern half of the U.S. lower 48, for the record, is the most anomaly warm region on the entire planet since 2012, 13 years. That's not nature, that's climate engineering and controlling the perception of the population so that they can keep business as usual, drill baby drill, burn baby burn, fly these aircraft. They need a lot of particulate matter, fuel to fly these aircraft to dump the particulate matter. So it's controlling perceptions as well. And even here where I'm at in California right now, and Lee knows this because we communicate often, I live in a formerly lush forest in Northern California. Our normal annual rainfall well over 70 inches. We haven't had rain for 6 months. It's raining slightly right now, like a toxic drizzle. When moisture comes over, they're chemically nucleating it, which is how they create a seeded, artificially manufactured snowstorm. Literally, these are patented processes, by the way. And what I just stated, if everyone there would look up Chinese scientists create artificial snowstorm, everybody covered it. CNN, Popular Science, MSNBC, The Guardian, everybody. They were seeding clouds with endothermic reacting materials, turning what should have been rain into snow, creates a coldness layer there on the ground, very cold to the touch especially. It's a chemical snowstorm. But yet if you bring it up here, suddenly you're a tinfoil hat wearing nutcase. And the whole climate science community isn't talking about this. There's a federal gag order on the nation's weather, the National Weather Service and NOAA, and the local meteorologists simply do what they're told to protect their paychecks and pensions. Just like the medical community keeps injecting the quote safe and effective concoctions, which are anything but safe or effective. So again, we live in societies with not much honor, very few willing to stand their ground. So those in power continue to do whatever in the hell they want. So again, as far as where they're taking off from, it's so many locations we couldn't be quantifying. Hill Air Force Base, we know that as well. But it's not relevant because there's so many in so many places. We simply have to force this issue to light, and so that those, even in defense contractor families and families of military personnel, so that they know what their family members involved with, and we would hope enough of them would stand down to be able to stop these operations. But if we can just force it to light, and populations all over the world know what their governments have done to them without their knowledge or consent, we have a chance of stopping it.
Thank you, Dane. We are almost out of time, but real quick, would you mind just speaking on the event that just took place with weather off of the coastline of South Carolina?
Well, that's a perplexing scenario. It seemed they had something bigger planned for those two cyclones to merge, and that was the initial prediction. So they've both been deflected. They're going to be deflected. And they do have that much power. For those who say that, no, they don't have that much power with the weather, that's patently false for anybody who does any honest research. When they can manipulate atmospheric pressure zones with weapons of mass destruction like HARP, I don't know if anybody there in the audience, you can explain this when we're done. The HARP is one facility in Alaska. There's about 100 more around the globe like it, not the same design, but that is a weapon of mass destruction that can transmit 3.6 million watts of power into the electrical charged ionosphere, which creates an electrical chain reaction, heats that layer of the atmosphere, and causes it to expand up and down. The downward push creates a high pressure zone in the lower troposphere. So by that atmospheric manipulation, they can literally deflect those cyclones. And the first thought we would think, well, that's great. No landfalls, no problem. But in that manipulation, and their manipulation of cyclones, period, the planet is desperately trying to cool itself. I don't know how many there have checked water temperatures off the coast of Carolina or out in the Atlantic in that region. They're very, very hot. And again, the planet is superheating, and this is not about Al Gore. Environmental groups have great disdain for all of them. They won't address climate engineering. It's criminal denial. But the bottom line is we have a real problem. It's a very immediate problem. Climate engineering is making it all far worse, not better, and contaminating every breath we take, every drop of rain. We know we have no uncontaminated drop of rain on the planet. Peer-reviewed study, nowhere. All of it's contaminated. We know that now. There's many sources, we recognize that. We've been very bad stewards of the planet, but climate engineering is the most ubiquitous contamination. So bottom line, again, we'll see what happens for the rest of the hurricane season, but we do know, and we did record, and Lee, you can perhaps direct them to this. If you search geoengineering watch.org hurricanes, I think we're at the 1-year anniversary of Helene. We recorded the frequency transmissions that were used to steer that storm into place and cause it to precipitate out in one location. We know that, and we're very surprised you have access to the data loops still that let us record that. But if you search geoengineering watch.org hurricanes, you can find real-time recording of the steering of those storms, patented processes of frequency transmission, Helene, Harvey, Ian, Maria, Michael. We recorded a lot of storms. So again, this is all out weather, chemical, and biological warfare in our skies. We have to stop it, or nothing else will matter.
Dane, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here with us, and,